Welcome, welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. I'm so happy that you joined us today. I am so excited to bring to you Patrick Grims, who's the founder and CEO of Passive Investing Mastery, an internationally best-selling author and a Forbes Council contributor. Is a serial entrepreneur specializing in alternative investments. His portfolio is diversified across energy, litigation finance, commercial lending, and acquisitions, including retail, industrial, and thousands of apartment units. He has developed a range of diversified passive investments focused on growth and cash flow, including the diversified litigation portfolio, acquisitions fund, and income fund, all designed to thrive during economic downturns. Formerly a robotics and automation engineer, Patrick holds a BS and MS and Downs in engineering and an MBA. Wow. Based in Honolulu, Hawaii, he is dedicated to educating investors on achieving financial independence through mastery in passive alternative investing. Wow. You've been more than busy.
A long journey.
Yes,
Thanks for
it
having me
has.
here today.
Yes. So I can't wait to get into this conversation because everybody is trying to find a way to become wealthy. So let's talk about basically how to escape the 9 to 5. How can people get out of that rat race?
Well, like many of your listeners, and forgive me, I have a little bit of a cold today, but we'll power through. I was a hardworking professional, working 8 to 5 or 6 to 8. Long days as a mechanical, machine design, automation, and robotics engineer. Yeah, so like many of your listeners, I was a hardworking professional, doing the 8 to 5, working till you die, and mechanical engineering was something I loved to do. I actually really enjoyed it. And I identified as a mechanical engineer, and I couldn't imagine doing something different. The industry I was in was a lot of fun: robotics, automation, doing stuff for solar cells and medical devices. But I got some advice early on. It was from the founder of the first automation company that I worked for. And he said that his only regret was not investing more sooner into real estate, into alternatives outside of the stock market or all these startups and all these tech companies that I was basically intertwined in. And he said, start your journey now. And so that's what I did. I started back when I was a snot-nosed engineer, investing as a side gig into real estate. And fortunately, I lost it all in 2009 and 10, really early on. I was still a gainfully employed engineer. But that's how I got my start. And I just kept at it, kept chipping away.
Yeah, said good thing you didn't give up because sometimes people lose it all and then they lose hope. And I can definitely relate to you with those long hours because I've been in the IT space for over 50 years and it was nowhere near 9 to 5.
Right.
It was long days. If something broke, you had to stay. Simple as that. And, I did a lot of on call overnight when programs broke, getting in touch with programmers, things like that. So I definitely can relate. So that's your inspiration. So tell us a little bit about what you actually do in the real estate space.
I do a combination of things now. We have passive investing mastery, which is my blue ocean approach, my give back. We take time to educate bi-weekly on different kinds of alternatives out there. Where I was a hardworking professional, all I knew about was my 401k and IRA, maybe buying stocks and maybe buying crypto. And I've heard of rental properties, but I really didn't know anything else. Like, there was nowhere to go at the time that I knew to find out about all the new and unique kinds of completely different alternatives that are available that you can invest in that don't ride the same market fundamentals. They don't ride the same market swings of the investments that are popularized for us and that are, the financial planners trying to keyhole us into. And so I do a combination. We educate to help our investors achieve mastery in the art of alternative investing through our biweekly webinars and my weekly Wealth Accelerator series emails. And I write a lot of books, on a lot of podcasts, and I write for Forbes as well. So it's a lot of articles. And then I sponsor investments through our platform, Passive Investing Mastery, and ones that are unique. Like right now, we have a downturn in commercial real estate. So we are taking advantage of that in the commercial investment side, both in the debt and equity and our income and acquisitions funds. And then we're looking at completely different alternatives, lesser known investments that provide both recession resilience and returns in legal funding, litigation finance, our diversified litigation portfolio.
Wow, it's so funny how you can take a bad situation and make something out of it. It's amazing. So when you work with your students, how does people come to you? Are they knowledgeable or they like green all the way around?
I don't do one-on-one coaching. We have a platform in which we invite our investor network to come and join us for live sessions, live mastery sessions, where I bring on panelists and other experts in all reaches of the alt space, really weird stuff like gold mining or craft whiskey barrel or wine barrel or Forex, as well as, laundromats and parking lots and all kinds of stuff. But we'll have panels and we'll have live dynamic conversations with the panelists as well as with the audience. We'll have 1,600 questions sometimes come up where we can invest in and educate and deep dive into different kinds of not only alternative investing options, but also strategies and team players that you need, like what retirement account custodians or what kind of tax advice. We bring in CPAs, tax attorneys, asset protection, what kind of trust you need. We'll bring in attorneys to talk about how to properly structure your agreements and various different kinds of things that help you build the team as well as get the right investments that build true financial security. Not just, hey, look, I'm financially free in real estate, where I've lost it all in real estate before. It goes on a cycle. You need to be, in order to get true financial security, you have to think more like the wealthy. Family offices, the sovereign funds, the hedge funds, that look at a strategic allocation strategy and they invest in truly diversified. These are things that don't have the same market fundamentals, truly different asset classes that don't rise and fall together. And that's how you build the true financial security.
Yeah, so you work so basically your group is more or less bringing it together, the minds of the minds in different disciplines.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, that's what it's about. Because nobody knows everything. But together, you can build so much and learn so much from one another. So that is awesome, Patrick. I like that strategy that you're doing here. So what makes litigation funding investment unique to compare to other asset classes?
Well, popularized are the stock market. It goes on big waves. In fact, right now we just finished a Fed rate hike. 11 out of the last 14 of those ended in a bust. We're at a tough time right now when market sentiment can be very volatile, and we've seen that happen. Real estate also has gone on waves. Oil and gas, that goes on waves too. All three of those are what we call non-correlated, which means you can invest and they're not likely to all be up and down at the same time. But where can you invest where it's potentially not as wildly cyclic and it's recession resilient, where the market fundamentals don't depend on what drives the outcome of the investments, don't depend on the rest of your portfolio and the same indicators. And so those are things like healthcare. People need healthcare and upturns and downturns, side turns. They always need healthcare. Education, they need skilling and upskilling. Legal services, it turns out that people need legal representation regardless of the economy. There's even arguments saying people need more representation in tougher times because people become more litigious in tougher times. CPAs, HVAC, plumbers, all these kinds of industries, they're de-linked essentially. They're called low correlated. They don't rise and fall. And my favorite happens to be legal services because it could be accessed in a very similar way that we produce loans in real estate. We can produce loans in the legal industry with collateral, secured liens, and produce returns in the legal industry and be in a fundamental market that's different. So you can go to sleep at night knowing, hey, look, I got my whole pie chart, this piece, this slice. Well, that's completely in a different space than the rest of it. So if all of the rest is down at one point, I still have one piece coming back to me that will be completely non-correlated to the rest.
So it's all about diversify.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, indeed. Wow. So what steps should an investor take to evaluate syndication opportunities for long-term success?
Well, so what I talk about, of course, is a big question. We can do a whole podcast, right? But if you sit home at night and you're taking your pie chart and you're saying, look, I've got a sliver here in real estate, I got some in bonds, I got some in stocks, maybe in treasuries, and I've got maybe a rental property with single family home, where is it at? And in our slide decks on our website, we show, hey, look, well, you can compare that now to here's like Edward Wolf's. Here's the typical middle class, high income, and ultra wealthy. Now, what are they doing differently than you? What's that next step up? Or Tiger 21's. 26% in real estate, 27% in alternatives, and then the rest in traditionals. Well, where are you at compared to that? And what's in these other assets and why? So we tend to talk about this with investors so they start to critically think, look, how comfortable am I right now with all these different slivers in my pie chart? Do I feel like I'm on good footing? Or would one additional slice carved out somewhere else be a good fit? And what is that other good fit? Well, we have a whole platform where every 2 weeks we present new, completely different investments. We bring on other operators to show their investments. And we have our own. And that's why we produce ones, we talk and we live what we preach, and we produce things like here's one you can do in litigation finance. Why? Because just like in real estate, how you can be diversified out of the stock market and you can lend to a real estate operator who can buy and improve a property to provide housing for a resident. In the legal industry, you can lend to an attorney who is needing to either acquire clients, needing marketing for acquiring, or needing the CapEx to support clients that can't afford their own representation. They can provide access to justice for those that can't otherwise afford it. So we'll assist by getting a loan, an investment in these attorneys, allow them to provide access to justice for those that otherwise couldn't afford it, and we can do the same kind of things. And so that allows us to then say, look, it's still an asset-backed lending strategy. It's got all the same metrics with evaluation and loan to value, skin in the game of the operator, liens, and we can do a diversified portfolio. We can produce a good service to the market. We can be a source of solution for the liquidity needs of the attorneys, and we can provide great returns for our investors.
Wow. That's definitely is a great platform that you have, Patrick. So if investors or people are interested in being involved, how do they connect?
I highly recommend checking out our website, passiveinvestingmastery.com. On our website, we do show our 3 investments. We have the ability to get into steady Eddie cash flow and income funds, which is a real estate asset-backed debt fund. We have the ability to participate in the best buying opportunity in commercial real estate in my lifetime, which is our acquisitions fund. Happens to be the best time to buy commercial real estate. It's like investing in 2009 and 10 in residential single family. Today, right now, commercial real estate took a big hit. It's a really great time to acquire. And then we have our litigation finance, our diversified litigation portfolio for totally non-correlated returns. And we have our mastery series on that site. So if you're looking out there like, look, man, I like this idea, but I'm just not familiar enough with it, you've got to step out there. You got to do what I call one passive step a day. And I run every morning. I have since college. And I'm listening to webinars and podcasts and TED Talks and audiobooks. I'm taking one passive step a day, whether I'm in a car, I'm going to the store, I'm listening to something every single day to contribute towards my education and my journey. Join our series, attend it live, ask questions. If you can't listen to the replays, you'll start to learn more and more about dozens and dozens of different investment strategies by the experts, and they'll start to make sense, become more familiar. And then you'll start realizing, wow, man, legal funding is exactly like buying a home. Same thing. It's just different industry. You'll start realizing all these other investments become more familiar. Then do one active step a month. Actually go be around people. Find your tribe. Find those people that are doing and being these things that you admire. Figure out how to spend time with them, because that is by nature, we are not cave dwellers by nature. We're nomadic individuals, and we're tribal individuals that want to huddle together. Nobody wants to go out into the desert by themselves. Nobody wants to go out into the forest by themselves. And we all know if you do so, you don't have a very good chance of survival. So don't get weighted back by your current tribe. Find another one, right? Find another one. Start working with these other people. You are the sum of the people you're hanging out with. Find who those people are and do that active step a month. Get in front of those. Try and do one every 2 weeks, but minimum once a month. And what you'll find is you will begin to change. You put in the time, you put in the work, you'll begin to find yourself into these assets. And that's how I tell people to do.
Yes, and you're so right, Patrick. You have to manifest what you want and be around the people that can help you get there. Because we don't know, especially if you don't know, you don't understand, reading. It's basic reading, studying, and learning. You should be doing that till the day you leave this earth, for sure. Wow. So let's talk about some of your writing. I see that you have an international bestseller. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we offer a copy of it. I have 3 books that I've contributed towards, and I've done chapters in each of the 3 of them. I have some really great group of people that I've worked with. This last one I was in there with a Navy SEAL, tells his whole story. Phil Collins, lead guitarist, Def Leppard, told his. Dennis Waitley, Brian Tracy, a lot of really amazing people. It was just an extraordinary book to be a part of. I tell my whole story about how I started in high tech and lost it all, then got back in and did single family and then large apartments and energy. Then I got into private credit and debt and commercial and litigation, finance. And it's been a really cool ride. I tell my whole story, how we ended up in Honolulu. If it inspires anybody, welcome to go to our website, passiveinvestingmastery.com/book, passiveinvestingmastery.com/book. And just make sure you put the name of this podcast in there, because we don't just give it away for free. We make sure that we know who they come from, but we ship out a signed copy. You can download the ebook as well, but we also offer a signed hard copy, because I think it helps inspire people when something's real and it's right in front of you. And you see all these stories of these people that inspire me and my story. And really, if it contributes to your journey, then it's done enough. I also write for Forbes. I mean, if you're looking for talking about my writing, I've got a bunch of articles. You can see those on our website as well under resources for investors. Got a half dozen articles, something like that in there, and got a bunch of content out there.
Yes, and I think people right now, with all of the uncertainty going on in the world, they're looking for stability with their finances. And it sounds like your mastery program is just what people need, because they don't want to be stuck in one commodity, and then that tanks, and then they don't have anything else. So
Exactly.
so I think that is awesomeness, Patrick. Absolutely. And I can't wait to get over to your website and start going through what everything that you have. So what are your future plans? What's next for Passive Investing Mastery?
Well, we always have a couple different alternative strategies in the hopper that we're working on, because our goal really is to help investors get 7 to 10 completely different investments that are non-correlated, low correlated, so that they can build true security. And so stay tuned. We have really cool new kinds of investments that are also novel and unique, like litigation funding. While that's been around since 1910 and it's like a $400 billion industry, it's still novel and unique to accredited investors, not large institutions or hedge funds, but it's novel and unique. We have other ones like that, very sophisticated, well-known strategies that are a bit still novel and unique to investors today. So stay tuned on those. Follow us at passiveinvestingmastery.com and you'll see those come up.
Yes, yes, you heard that, ladies and gentlemen, because I know I'm always looking for something. I'm very diversified with where I'm putting my money, but like I know about Bitcoins. I was looking at Forex, starting to study that a little bit, understanding how that flows. Uh, but I need help. I don't really have the knowledge in every little thing that's out there, and it would be a real learning curve. But if you're working with people that already are in these various different industries and understand the ins and outs, it cuts your risk down tremendously, for sure, when you're trying to
Absolutely.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, navigate the water, so to speak. Wow. So, what is your thoughts, with everything that's going on right now with the country? Are you feeling very confident that, and it sounds like you do because of the way you're structuring things?
Well, today I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. I'm still a bit today. Sorry about that. But no, I think it is a very precarious time. I think I mentioned before that 11 out of the last 14 Fed rate hikes ended in a downturn. That's something to pay attention to probabilistically. While it's always important to be diversified, true diversification, not in a bunch of kinds of real estate, not in a bunch of kinds of energy, not in a bunch of kinds of stocks, but into completely different industries like healthcare, legal, oil and gas, real estate, and the stock market, and more. While it's always important to be diversified, and especially so now, because not only probabilistically did we have like one of the biggest Fed rate hikes in our history, um, the fastest, and we're also at a time when there's also a trade war going on the backside of it. We just got done with the pandemic. There's a bunch still lingering in our economies while the world's biggest economies are betting against the dollar and our spending is spiraling out of control and there's threats of war around the world. There are so many different indicators to suggest maybe we should start allocating into non-correlated investments. Maybe we should ask in recession resilient things, get ourselves out of the sentiment driven stock market because probabilistically we're headed for a ride and it's not usually favorable, especially when you have to wait a long time for your funds to recover just to get back to break even. So that's why our platform is the way it is. And while it can seem a little discouraging to look at those facts, you don't have to live in fear. Like I said, if you're going home at night feeling uncomfortable, well, don't listen to an alternative investing mastery series that specializes in investments, which don't go for those rides. Take some action, right? Take some action to learn about the alternatives that are more resilient and won't go for those same economic rides as the rest of your portfolio.
Yes. And again, Patrick, how do people connect?
So passiveinvestingmastery.com, passiveinvestingmastery.com. And right there on my website, we have a calendar link. I make myself available. One of the things I love to do is contribute to other people's journey. That's why we have our educational series. We also have our own investments. Wherever you're at in your journey, set up a call. Be happy. Me and my team can step you through, what we have. If we're not the right fit, we can definitely get you pointed in another direction because we're constantly interviewing completely different alternatives. So we'll find something that's a good fit for you. And I hope to be a stop along your journey.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you sharing all of these nuggets that you have shared with us today. And I'm sure people are out there scratching their head right now. But I definitely, think that they should definitely connect with you if they're looking for alternatives and they don't know which way to go and they're ready to learn how to diversify in a way that, they can always be ahead of the game in some way.
Really. Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you, audience, for tuning in. We appreciate you as well.